It's the last couple of days of vacation and I'm here setting up to make a video for you guys. Instead of being out there, jumping in the water. That's how much I like you guys. So we are doing Shiptember, and on Instagram I've been drawing a couple of ships and I'm sort of trying to fit them in a story that's in my head. And I did sort of a smaller ship that helps in like sort of a cargo hauler, just, well, not a cargo hauler, more like a cargo manipulating ship that helps move cargo from the big haulers a little bit. Well, in the lore that I made up in my head, I wanted to make another one, a different one. So this would be that updated design. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do in the video today. It's gonna be a bit less structured, basically very close to my first video where I just ramble a little bit, I just talk around, and it's just mostly fun, just because I only have like 4 days left, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a bit lazy. I enjoy sitting at the beach, I enjoy doing nothing. Like, I'm at the point where like, oh yeah, do I want to draw or do I want to just sit and soak in a bit of the holiday laziness? And the holiday laziness seems to be winning. But it should be still a fun video, just because. So this is a cargo hauler. This is the main ship that I drew yesterday that just takes the big, like this would be where a big cargo thing fits. And then this would be the updated version of that. So that's what we're doing today. I want to do 2 views of it, just because it has a bit of a mechanism that you will see in a minute when I cut a little bit ahead, where we have some more drawings done. Alright, so the arms are sort of done already. So the idea is that we had this one, actually, you might understand it better like this, right? So now the container is horizontal and the guy is sitting here and then just can push it around. But unless the containers are not too big, or if they're too big, he won't be able to see a lot. So in my story, we adjusted this by having like virtual imaging software and virtual positioning systems, so he can see what he's doing. But I thought it would be cooler to have like a newer model where sort of this problem is solved. And then we have this here, where through a mechanism, so with this mechanism, the cockpit area can lift off. So that's what I'm having here. I have most of it figured out. This engine area is a little bit unclear to me. So here, I know here I have sort of like, I don't think it's a turbocharger, but basically what you have on muscle cars. Also what we had on the Mandalorian ship, sort of like that. I'm not a motorhead, so I'm sure you will point out what it is called exactly. And then here I'm semi-debating, because in my, at least the world that I'm imagining, this is, I call this Rhine Motorworks, so basically German manufacturing, and they are very like this and this, so they are to the point, like we do what's needed and we don't care about looks that much. And that's also this front part. So they came up with this interesting idea of how this should work. But then I was thinking, maybe what if they hired in an Italian sort of inspiration, maybe a designer from an Italian type company, and then he can do this, or they can do this cockpit area a little bit more smooth looking. Not quite sure if I want to run with that or not, but we shall see. So I was also slightly struggling with what to do here in the front, but I came up with an idea that I like now quite a bit, which is the construction black and yellow stripes. For some reason I just love putting those onto whatever sort of machinery I design. Just makes it look serious. Maybe not serious, but functional. And because this is an area that is relatively close to the containers, it is sort of a warning that, hey, watch out, don't be in this area, which also I don't see how anybody could be in that area, but at least it is a nice little design element that I can plop in there. And then of course I will hide a lot just with adding cross-hatching and things that look like their actual design, but there's also a lot of just empty space and just cylinders. So don't think that everything is thought out, because it is not. There is a lot of cheating going on. Hey, Editing Robert here. And just in case you thought, oh, this guy is cool, he's making videos even on his vacation, I want to support him. Well, let me remind you, I have a Patreon, so check it out if you want to. Okay, so I'm semi-done with the front part. I want to move on to this mechanism, which will be lifting my, I don't know if it's called chassis or just body, up. So this is a little bit tricky because I feel it might work or it might make the design look weird. I am going for, in general with these, as you can see here as well, it's sort of, I'm sticking to my semi-retro look, just bringing it with me from, where are they? From my cars. So it is sort of the same universe. These are on planet, and then these would be off planet, servicing the same people living in the same world. So I want to keep that in mind. But yeah, this is a little bit of how I'm going to build this lever arm thing. Yeah, once again, as you guys know, I jump back and forth between what I'm drawing, so maybe we can also just work a little bit more on the rest as well. So jumping back to my engine, adding some detail there, adding a couple of lines, making it look busy, making it look planned out. Something what I did with this, I started there because elements that are in the foreground I want to have drawn out, so I don't accidentally draw something in the background over it, because like that is more like my industrial design type approach to drawing, where I don't really care if my lines cross each other. And here I want to keep my lines relatively clean. They don't need to be 100% clean, but it would be nice to have some sort of cleanliness to them, I guess. So now I do the same thing with this body part here, because I know that this will be on top of everything. I just want to make sure that I draw it out. For example, here the inner parts I will not draw out, because I know that those will probably be overlapped by something that's in front of them. These would be like counter thrusters, like maneuvering counter thrusters, I would say, just because here I want to have like two big thrusters, and those would be pushing the whole weight of the container into the desired direction, of course. So I've been struggling a little bit with this cockpit here, but I think that now I have something that I sort of like. Still not 100% in love with it, but at least I can live with it, and I think that's a good start. And as I make it now, it's funny because sometimes as you draw you make mistakes and you realize them. I made it a bit too small, so I wanted the person in it to be a bit bigger. I wanted the unit to be bigger than this one. But now it's a little bit smaller, and somebody's dancing next to me pointing at the ocean. So let's take a natural break here in the video, and I'll be back and finish it later. Alright, and it is the continuation now. We're back, and actually it is the next day, because darkness comes fast here. But I'm still not super happy with the cockpit. I think I'll just leave it as it is. I don't think there is much fixing that, so I'll just move on to the other parts that still need to be done in this little spaceship, which would be this connection tech area here. Once again, I am going to just use a lot of cross-hatching to hide and imply detail. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but there is a difference when I start drawing with the fountain pen as opposed to how it dries, because the fresh writing drawing color is much darker, and when it dries it's much more into the pink purple area, which is quite interesting. The first couple of times around I was like, oh no, is there maybe some blue color remnant, blue color left over? But it is just how it dries, and that is fine. It dries back to the same exact color, so it is not a problem at all. I maybe want a little bit of more, just some hidden elements here. It doesn't need to be clear what it is exactly. I just want it to be there. And I was also thinking, because in my original sketches I had a couple of cables loose that I think might look good. Just in general, I like cables, and it's nice to have some intersecting elements in your drawings. Okay, and then final element on the ship itself is I want some cutout areas here that will be for maneuvering thrusters, and I will also cut out small area there and just put a small maneuvering jet in there. These could technically be much smaller, they don't need to be this big, but I just like the idea of cutting out the shape a little bit, just giving it some variation. And I'm also, you can keep it a bit loose, it doesn't need to be super precise and perfect. In general, these cutting lines just give a tad of believability, because you want to think that they don't just mold these big pieces, but they actually put them together out of several separate pieces. And the rest would be just a little bit of detailing here and there, so I thought just to make these arms a little bit more, well, not make it industrial looking, they usually have these sort of indents here, something like that. And basically now I do my comic-y style, where I go once over my lines, especially the outer lines, just to strengthen them, and if we have some cutting areas like that, to make them pop more. For example, this line is nice when it's thin, but I want this overlay, like this is in the front and that's in the back. And then I just want to draw this in a from a different perspective, where it's all closed up. Alright, and then as I said, I just want a couple of different angles as well, just to try and explain this whole thing just a little bit better. So this would be the cabin that I talked, or that we can see over here. And by cabin, of course, I mean body by that. So this is a little bit of cheating that is going to happen here, because technically this round part, I cut it out for it, but it wouldn't fit necessarily. So I'm gonna just move it a little bit closer to it, even though there is no need for it because there's plenty of space. But since I already cut it out, I thought, why not? And then just try to emulate some of the same detail that we have on the other one. And then of course we have to fit in that little cockpit area. So here with this one I go a little bit more sketchy, because like this would be the main draw for me as a visual, and this is all just about explaining stuff. So I don't feel the need to be super tight with my lines and be as clean and clear as with the other one. So here I'm mostly just letting the eye, like hopefully this is where the eye will go most, and there's a bunch of detail there, and then from there the eye can travel here and see what's going on here, but then the eye can fill in all the information that's missing here with the stuff that it gets from there. So I'm also going much more industrial design here, even though I did sketch it out beforehand with the reds. I am still doing lines that just go through everything and not trying to be super strict with my line usage. Alright, and final lines would be just a little view on this from the side. And once again, just like I did here before, I don't care as much about it being perfect when it comes to lines and just precision, because that is not what it is all about at this point. And then we have the arms, which should be somewhere here, something like this. And here I'm really just giving the idea of what's happening. Something that you can do here in this case is give a bit of a forced perspective when we show that something is on the other side, and that is why that there is in shadow. And then something like that. And of course we have the thrusters that I drew here, for which we also have a little ellipse there, and then there are the actual thrusters. And now I wanted to draw the thrusters down there, and I realized, oh, I didn't draw them there. So here we have our tiny thrusters, and there as well. And then here would be our cockpit. And the rest actually doesn't even bother me to add any sort of detail, because it's not what it is for. And now we can continue with adding all these little details here and there. I will probably do that off camera, but this is sort of the next generation of this one. So, and this is how I sort of approach drawing videos. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. As always, you can leave questions and comments in the description down below. I want to thank my lovely patrons. And as always, the most important thing is that you folks have a great time, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.